as they were explaining the new rules, Tim Tebow then checks the ball up for, what was it, 87? How far? 80, because it started from the 20. 80-yard line, throws it up, and it's done. It's over with, game over.
It's, yeah, I mean, they literally were showing the rules, and the game's over, and where I was watching, everyone was going nuts, and just a spectacular end, and also a spectacular finale to a game in which Tim Tebow kind of had what we said before, a statistical coming out party, and had a bunch of deep throws. Obviously, some of his passes were wobbling. Still looks a little hesitant sometimes, but remember, and we pointed this out many times at Cold Hard Football Facts, he's the greatest passer in the history of the SEC, a tough conference that's produced a lot of great quarterbacks. None of them pass the ball as well or as effectively or downfield better or accurately as Tim Tebow did. And by the way, Captain Comeback, who we're going to talk about obviously in this segment, Scott Kazma writes our Captain Comeback column, calls this an eyesore on the resume of defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau for not having his guys in the right position, especially basically having Thomas, having nobody deep to cover the Broncos.
Well, we saw multiple plays every single time, and that's what the great write-up was about, was saying, well, you know what, Ike Taylor, he showed no respect for Tim Tebow, apparently the quarterback that can't throw, always trying to play the bump and run, and basically left open. I mean, you talk about that Dick LeBeau, his resume now. He basically let up a year's worth of big plays in that one game.
By the way, I believe it's the first time the Steelers allowed 300 passing yards in a game since the Super Bowl last year against the Packers. So obviously he's a great, he's a great defensive coordinator. He's one of the best ever. We talked a while ago about that 4.9 yards per attempt they allowed all year via pass. 4 teams allowed a higher average on the ground this year. That's how good that pass defense was all year. But it's the past 2 big games, that pass defense has been totally ineffective. It's one thing to get toasted by Aaron Rodgers and that prolific Green Bay offense and kind of what was Aaron Rodgers' great coming out party to the nation. But for an offense, everyone criticized Tim Tebow, couldn't pass the ball. For him to do that is really kind of staggering. And by the way, let's look at some of the numbers here that Captain Comeback put together. 31.6 yards per completion, the highest ever in a playoff game with a minimum of 10 completions. It's remarkable. Nobody even close. And look at some of the guys on the list. Tobin Rote, who was a pretty good quarterback back in the day. Johnny Unitas, a Hall of Famer. Terry Bradshaw, a Hall of Famer and big game performer.
Everybody on there. I mean, when Hostetler was with the Raiders, I mean, these are some big name guys that he's going to be lumped in with. And it's not just, well, you can say, well, I can make a stat up and say, well, he's in there for honorable. But look, if you scroll down through these different lists, he's on the list still with some other ones. I mean, his ability to battle back in games, granted in this game, he was only down a little bit, and then obviously the tie at 23 apiece. But still, this team and their ability to battle back through it all, something to say about him. Because you mentioned about that leadership. I think Tim Tebow leads this team to victory.
4 overtime victories for the Broncos. And we talk about leadership. It's not all about the quarterback. The defense has played well. I'm not trying to make it sound like a one-man team. It's not. And when he struggled, that defense a lot of times during that win streak played quite well. But when you're 4-0 in overtime, you're doing something right. Your quarterback is getting points on the board. I know, Prater had a couple, a 62-yard field goal in one game. But you don't win consistently in tight games without a quarterback coming up big in those big moments. And it's really remarkable. On the other end, though, as Captain Comeback put together, since 2009, the Steelers have allowed 5 game-winning touchdowns in the last 32 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime. So this is a defense, despite its great reputation, some of its solid numbers, in clutch moments, are not getting it done, and they didn't get it done against the Broncos either.